Hey guys, Simpson Recruits here, and as you can see, we're back with the Crystal Palace Master League, and in today's episode we have 3 matches for you. In the last episode we got knocked out of the Capital One Cup, so every episode from now on will only be in the Barclays Premier League, so you'll see the table at the end of each episode. So if you really care about seeing the table, just pay attention at the end of the episode, probably potentially pause it if you really want to see it for longer than however long it's on the screen for. So the first match of today's episode we go up against Steve McLaren's Newcastle. Newcastle, of course, have not bought hardly any players, if I can even see from that. And in today's episode, we actually have 3 matches for you. We get to the end of the January transfer window. I did look at some of the recommendations you made. None of the players were available. I didn't even try. I tried to buy some of them, and it was like no, or they wanted like 20 million for some of the players, which is a bit ridiculous to be honest. Some of them I could have potentially bought, but I thought there's no point buying players who are quite low rated. So stuff like that. If you have any other recommendations to make potentially for the summer transfer window, either write them now on the comment section or just tweet at me, and I'll read tweets. I probably won't even I might like them, considering there's no favourite anymore. Don't know why I'm doing that, Twitter, but I might like them. Probably won't retweet them or anything, but I'll probably or potentially reply to you, like stuff like that. So yeah. Anyway, this match against Newcastle. Newcastle are a ridiculously weird team to play against in this game because they play some very weird football. Sometimes they play long ball, sometimes they play short ball. In this particular match, they played a lot of short balls. Eventually to Mitrovic here in the 6th minute of the match. Really good defending from Camacho. Camacho is really coming into his own, considering he's only played like 4 or 5 games for me. But in the 8th minute of the match, Castaños on the ball, runs past a couple of players, gets a strike away, and look at that for a strike by Castaños to make it 1-0 to us in this game. Now, all I'm going to say is this game was boring as hell. In the 22nd minute here, Castaños on the ball, runs past 2 players, gets a strike away. It's wide, and that was that. Wijnaldum got injured in the last minutes of the match. We clear the ball here eventually. Fisher clears it to Camacho. And that was that. From the stats, you'll be like, oh, you should have shown more. But I showed everything. There were 2 shots in the game, 1 on target, which was the goal, which Castaños scored. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on to the second match of this episode is away to AFC Bournemouth. Of course, with no Capital One Cup anymore, we have there's a good like 4 to 5 days between each match. So that's why the majority of my players are like more or less fully fit, which makes it a lot easier for me to basically play against some particular teams, being able to rest Cabaye and stuff like that. Don't remember why I rested why I didn't start Cabaye in this particular match, but for whatever reason didn't start him. And we play against Bournemouth at Dean Court. Now, Bournemouth are one of those teams who are in the bottom 3, I think, if I remember correctly. So I was always expecting it to be a little bit more difficult because, of course, relegation battle candidates are always a little bit more hard to face. Of course, Maicon starting. For some reason, Joe Ledley was my captain, which just made no sense at all. And I was, we're top of the table, but you want to rest some players here and there when you get the opportunity. So in this game, we did rest some players. We played like Connor Wickham, Henry Chan actually got a start. Martin Kelly was playing at right midfield, so there's everything. And in the first minutes of the match, we basically try and get down this right hand side of Martin Kelly and Joel Ward, which is a bit ridiculous considering they're both right backs. But eventually, Joel Ward does get the ball down in the opposition, tries to cross it in, doesn't come to anything, it goes up for a corner kick. But in the 15th minute of the match, down this right hand side, they actually get the ball down to Pugh, into Tomlin. Tomlin plays it into Callum Wilson. Wilson just pings it past Jack Bolton like he's not there, and makes it 1-0 to Bournemouth in the first half. And I was like, will I regret making all these substitutions, all these changes before the next match? And I sort of did, to be honest, because in the 30th minute of the match, you get a strike away with Joe Ledley. Doesn't come to anything, comes down to Henry Chan. Chan puts the ball, plays down the right hand side towards Ward, and Ward plays it to Ledley. Ledley tries to play forward, but Ledley is just a horrendous player. I take out one of those players. Matt Ritchie picks up the ball, runs past a couple of players, and Connor Wickham hacks him and doesn't get a yellow card, but gives away a free kick. But in the 54th minute of the match, Joe Ledley down the left hand side actually runs down ridiculously on the edge of the box, gets a strike away, and he scores a ridiculously good goal with his right foot. Considering that he's left-footed, it's actually pretty decent. Him scoring with his chocolate leg. That's what he used to say in FIFA, like FIFA 06 or FIFA 08 or whatever the hell it was. They used to say whenever Van Persie scored with his left foot, with his right foot, it was, oh, he scored with his chocolate leg. Shut up, Alan Smith? Was it Alan Smith? I think it's Alan Smith. But anyway, and Martin Tyler. But anyway, in this game, in the last minutes of the match, 87th minute of the match, they put us on a little bit more pressure. Maicon eventually picks up the ball and just sort of runs with it for a bit, eventually plays it out to Joe Ledley, and in the last minutes we're trying to get forward, trying to potentially maybe even steal a win here against Bournemouth. But in the last minutes, Ledley runs in his left hand side, like just continues to run, eventually crosses it in, doesn't get anywhere. Francis tries to stop him, again crosses it in, doesn't come to anything. Fisher gets a strike away, Wickham can't do anything with the control. And that was that. So we drew 1-1 against Bournemouth. Probably should have won the game, considering that the stats sort of show that we had 7 shots, 4 on target. For some reason Callum Wilson gets man of match of 7.0 rating. Yeah, he scored, but hey ho. And we end up looking in basically the last weekend of the January transfer window, and we look at Boylson from Ajax. Left back rated 81 who can also play centre back, and I decided to buy him for 11 million because I was like, well, Suarez our best left back, then our backup is Ezekiel Fryer, so it's like 65 rated or whatever. And I was like, okay, maybe we could potentially get him in maybe as a good or like a better utility player, playing at left back, centre back, defence, midfield, like pretty decent in those sort of positions. So in the game against Arsenal, we decided to give him his debut, going up against the likes of Olivier Giroud and Mesut Ozil. But as you see here from our team, we basically played our strongest team, well, one of our strongest teams possible. Joel Ward didn't play, instead Martin Kelly played at right back, and Carrasco played in attacking midfield. For some reason Cabaye wasn't really feeling it. Now Arsenal's team, as you can see, likes of Tim Krul is the only real player they've actually bought. Likes of Chamberlain, Ozil, Sanchez, Giroud, Coquelin, Mikel Arteta. Like, for some reason they don't like playing Ramsey. Maybe Ramsey's actually left the team, I don't actually know where he is, he might have actually left. And if he has left, well, it makes it a little bit more, not realistic, but it basically makes it so that when I eventually leave Crystal Palace, I might actually play for a team which actually has a lot of good players. But in the first minutes of the match, Giroud nearly gets a strike away. Like, basically, this Arsenal team was putting us under a lot more pressure than normal. And in the 32nd minute of the match, Giroud actually does get a strike away, goes up for a corner kick, which doesn't actually come to anything. But they were putting us under a lot more pressure than normal. And in the 45th minute of the match, Castaños hits the bar. Now, I was really annoyed when he hit the bar, because then I sweated it back to him and everything, like cut it back to him, all that sort of stuff. But it was 0-0 at half time between the two teams, and I was like, okay, maybe I could bring it back in the second half, potentially score a goal. But in the 54th minute of the match, Sanchez nearly gets a strike away, really good tackle from Bolson. Not from Bolson, it was actually from Romagnoli. And in the 61st minute of the match, Giroud they get a penalty for that. Now, I was really annoyed when I gave away this penalty, because I'm sure that I get the ball and the referee gives me a yellow card for Bolson, and I was like, what the hell, it shouldn't be a yellow card, and it shouldn't even be a foul, so I get the ball. But Mesut Ozil takes a penalty kick, hits it right down the middle, and scores to make it 1-0 to Arsenal. And I was happy inside, because of course I'm an Arsenal fan, but I was really annoyed because I was like, well, it wasn't even a penalty. But in the 62nd minute of the match, literally from the kickoff, I just run with Martin Kelly past every single player, pass it back to Castaños, and Castaños just pings it right into the roof of the net, this time instead of hitting the crossbar like he did in the first half. So, scoring goal against Arsenal, Castaños, but it's a little bit of a cheeky goal, but pretty decent goal in general. The only reason we actually had so much space on the left hand side was because Nacho Monreal was off for treatment. And in the 66th minute, basically from kickoff, they kept the ball for a bit. Eventually Sanchez plays it into Arteta back to Sanchez, and they did this for so many times before eventually playing it to Ozil into Coquelin into Chamberlain into Giroud. Giroud just waits, eventually Ozil makes a run, Ozil for on goal, Ozil takes the first time strike and scores to make it 2-1 to Arsenal. Now, I was annoyed, but then I was really happy because it was actually good to see some goals which don't involve a lot of just like long balls into the box or anything. So it was interesting to see Arsenal actually score a proper Arsenal-esque goal. But in the 83rd minute of the match, Fisher gets a strike away, really good save from Tim Krul. And in the last minutes of the match, I mean, as expected, Chamberlain on the ball, weighing it about, just passing the ball, but gives it into Debussy, back to Chamberlain. I hack him with McArthur. Ozil takes a free kick early into Sanchez. Sanchez just plays it back to Ozil, and like they were just like basically mocking me essentially. And they win the game 2-1. So 2-1 to Arsenal against us. I mean, I was annoyed to lose the game, but then I was like, well, at least they maybe actually deserved to win, and they actually generally deserved to win. They destroyed me. Mesut Ozil got man of the match with an 8.0 rating. Chelsea beat Everton. Leicester beat Bournemouth. And on match day 24 in the table, we are third in the table after losing that game. Chelsea are top with 51. Man City are second with 50, and we are 3 points clear of Liverpool in 4th. So if you have enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel for more, and catch you later.